Good morning, good morning. In case you missed yesterday's show, yesterday's word of the day was justice, and that definition was to make right. Justice. We all seek justice in every shape, form, and fashion. We all want equality. So today is a brand new word and a brand new meaning, and I think we're going to really, really love this word today. So I hope you got your shoes on. Make sure they're strapped up and tight because we're ready to walk on the road to wisdom. Good morning, good morning. It is August the 24th, a beautiful Thursday morning here in the state of South Carolina, and I am your host, Danny Graham, and I am here with another word of the day, and thank you for joining us on the road to wisdom. Now, the word of the day, as you can see right here, is boom, perception. Perception is the road of the day, and perception is a very tricky word because perception can be very, very funny. You think you see something and you don't, and then you think it's this and it's really that. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. The definition of perception is the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. Say it one more time. We got five senses. So the perception is, and the definition of perception is the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. Another definition of perception is a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something, a mental impression. One more time. Second one, I got two definitions, but the second one, another definition is a way of regarding, understanding, or interpreting something and having a mental impression. The scripture for the day for the word perception comes from the book of Colossians, third chapter, second verse. And it says, set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. Say that one more time. The book of Colossians, third chapter, second verse says, set your mind on things that are above, not on things that are on earth. So, reading that, I'm thinking like, God, Jesus wants us to set our minds on heavenly things, things that's going to get us to heaven, things that are going to, as we read and we perceive with our senses, with our hearing and our eyes, God-like ways, His word, His readings, His righteousness, and stay away from the worldly things, the wicked stuff, the stuff that the flesh. We want to focus more on things that are the spirit, and that's what pleases God. To live a certain way, to do right, to obey His commandments, obey His rules, His regulations, and also have faith in Him. And also, when you need something, when you don't need something, always praise His name. Always give Him thanks for the things that you have and the things that He may have sitting, waiting down the line to give you. But if you don't do certain things, or if you don't pray, and if you don't have faith in Him and live a certain way, then He's not going to bless you with the blessings that He has set aside for you. I believe that God has a certain amount of blessings that could be possibly unlimited for people that really, really believe in Him and worship Him and know and definitely believe deep in their heart, deep in their core, that He is God. He is the one and only. Last night I was on a stream with some other fellas, and it was coming about these aliens. We're hearing a lot of things about aliens, and people are seeing aliens, and there's life of aliens, and there's proof of aliens, and all this kind of stuff. And I was asked a question because the panel, the people that was on there, know that I am heavily that I'm saved, I'm a Christian, and I always seem to get the spiritual questions, which I don't mind. And one of the questions was, if there are aliens and stuff, then what does that say about religion? And the way I perceive, and the answer that I gave them was that, look, God is omnipotent. He created the universe. Who's to say this is the only universe that He created? Who's to say that we're the only people that He created? Because God is so knowledgeable, so vast, His knowledge is incomprehensible to us. We don't know what He's doing. He could, for all we know, He could be creating this world, this verse, and call His and make this particular universe, give him this name. Or he create another universe, and in that universe, he has another name. And in this universe he created, he has another name. But if all the universes believe in whatever name that he gives himself for that particular group of people or aliens or species or whatever you want to label it, then who knows he's not doing that? I mean, I don't know. I know that God is so powerful and so vast, and he created it in 6 days he created a world. So who's to say in another 6 days he didn't create another world? Because I believe God is that powerful that he can do whatever he wants, however he wants, whenever he wants. That's perception. That's how I perceive God to be. So if there is other life forms out there, I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen anything definitively for myself. And I know there's a lot of people that are saying, yeah, they've seen this and you got pictures of this and pictures of that. A lot of stuff can be fabricated. A lot of stuff, just like I said, we think you see and hear stuff, but the perception from one person could be something, and the perception from another person could be something. So until I see something that I can touch, like I said, and like the definition says, the ability to see, hear, or become aware of something through the senses. I got my senses. I got to be able to see this alien, touch this alien, hear this alien, and and if it has an odor, smell, the alien. I mean, that's what I have to see. I can't sit here and say that. My senses are not allowing me to perceive that there is a such thing as alien. I know there's a lot of people out there. Like I said, the senses also can be fooled. How many times have we gone to a movie or something and seen things and you think that, man, or you've seen videos, you've seen actual videos on the news and it looks like one thing, and then when they break it down or slow it down, it's something else. It's something totally different. Um, but life is dictated. The way we live, how we live, is dictated through the way we perceive things. If you perceive things from a negative point of view, or look at things through a negative lens, then you're gonna live life in a negative way, or like, I don't think, or what I love to say, you're gonna live life with a glass that's half empty. But if you perceive life in a positive way and you look at the positive things, then you're going to perceive life as the glass is half full. So it just depends on how you perceive things, how your brain um, breaks down the, whatever impulses that your eyes see, what you hear, what you taste, what you smell, what you touch. All those things are going to make an impression in your mind, and you have to determine whether or not you perceive this to be A, or perceive it to be B, or perceive it to be good, perceive it to be bad. Some people think like they can listen to a joke, for instance, and some people are like, oh, that was a bad joke. But some people might laugh at it. It's just the way you perceive things. And some people may think that certain lifestyles are cool. And other people are like, no, it's not. So it's the way the individual person perceives things. It also is based on, in my opinion, your belief level and what your morals has a great influence on how you perceive things. If you got a strong moral um, foundation, so to speak, then I think that you're gonna look at things and perceive things from a different point of view than someone who hasn't, or someone that's been raised a certain way, or raised to have a certain belief. Then you're going to perceive things differently than someone who hasn't. And I know a lot of times, and I'm use this as an example. An individual that's been raised with a single mother and versus if an individual that's been raised by two parents, they may perceive life a little differently because they had to do things a certain way. Or let's say, for instance, that there is a strong independent or a strong man in your life. If you're a young woman or a young man, a father figure, then of course you're gonna have an example to base in your mind who you might possibly look for when it's time for you to get married or have a boyfriend. You wouldn't want someone that may have the qualities of the strong man that was in your life, if you're whether you're a boy or a girl, and whether you believe in your particular lifestyle. But let's just say, for instance, I'm operating from a heterosexual person. Um, you live in a family, like I lived in my family was my grandmother raised me and my aunts and uncles. My uncles and my dad were strong men, and I tried to emulate them because I saw what they did. They were great influences in my life. So as a man, I want to emulate how they work, their work ethic, how they handle themselves, how they carry themselves. And in the town I grew up in, my name or our name, last name, was a name where people like, well, hey, if you're from them, if that's your dad, that's your uncle, then you from a good stock. So the perception of and based on how they carry themselves, how they act, was a good perception. Now I know some people with different names, and when you hear them like, that's your daddy, he probably ain't worth 50 cents, whatever. I've seen things like that. So a lot of times, you grow up a certain way, and once you become an adult, you're going to perceive life differently based on how you were raised, based on the things that influence your life, based on the things that you did or didn't have. So, like I said earlier, definitely, life is dictated by the things you perceive. And also, I'm going to say this one more time. Senses can be fooled. Your senses can be fooled. You can think for certain that you're looking at something and it's one thing, but then when you look at it again through a different lens or a different angle, or somebody else points something out, you're like, I can see that. And also, how many of us have looked in the clouds as you're driving or walking or standing outside, and the clouds look like you can look at it and like, man, that looks like such and such and such. Then somebody else will look at it and say, no, that looks like such and such and such. It's perception. That's just an example of perception. I want to give you some more examples of perception. And the first one I want to give you is this. What do you see? Now, at one glance, you can see look like an old woman on the left and an old man on the right looking at each other. But then when you look at it again, you can see two Hispanic males, one with a guitar and one with hands on the head, and they're sitting like in a hacienda or something. That's the perception. But if you look at it from one point of view, it's like an older lady on the left and an older gentleman on the right looking at each other. But then look at it from a different perception, you can see the two Hispanic males look like sitting on there, one with their hands on their hat and one playing a guitar. Perception. Number two, as you see this right here, what do you see? I see it look like two faces looking at each other. One on the left, one on the right. They're looking at each other, nose to nose, head to head, lips to lips. But then if you look at it again, it looks like a white vase or a table or whatever you want to name you want to give it. But if you look at it from one way, you perceive it to be two faces looking at each other. But then if you look at it a different way, you perceive it to be a white vase or a cup or a goblet or something. Third example I want to give you is this is famous. I've seen this ever since I was a little boy. If you look at it one way, it's like a young girl, like she got with dark hair, and she's looking down and looking back over her right shoulder. But then if you look at it a different way, it looks like an older woman looking down. Can you see it? If you look at it one way, you perceive it as a young girl looking down with dark hair, looking over her right shoulder, looking down over her right shoulder. But you look at it another way, you can see the older lady like she got on a black fur coat, a white hat, and she's looking down. Third example is, do you see the musician, or you see the girl's face? The musician like a guy playing a saxophone. He has a very big nose. He's looking forward. He's standing sideways, but he's looking to the right. Now, if you see the girl's face, you can see the girl like she's looking straight at us. Can you see it? And the last one, example of perception, is the duck-rabbit illusion. If you see the duck, it looks like he's looking straight towards the left. As you're looking at the screen, his bill is pointed to the left. But then if you look at it from a different point of view, it's the rabbit, and he's looking up towards the right. Can you see it? Like I said, perception. all through life is how you perceive things, and your senses can be fooled. Because a lot of you saw some of the things I was saying. A lot of you saw the young girl. Some of you saw the old woman first. Some of you saw the rabbit first. Some of you saw the duck first. Some of you saw the old couple looking at each other, and some of you saw the Hispanic guys, one with the guitar and one sitting there holding the hat. And some of you saw the guy playing the saxophone first, and some of you saw the young lady looking at us first. So perception is a very tricky thing. Um, Also, things too, biblical things, um, and perception in the Bible sense. I'm going to use examples like miracles because if I was to see certain things that happen in the Bible and perceive them, then I would definitely know beyond a shadow of a doubt that God exists. I don't understand reading the Bible what the Israelites was thinking because God performed all these miracles for them. He liberated them from Egypt, and He gave them just so much stuff. This showed miracle after miracle after miracle, things that today, if we were to see, we would I would believe beyond a shadow of a doubt, which I do now. But if I was to see these things, I would never ever stray. I don't think I would ever stray because I would know the power of God, and it to me it just kind of blows my mind, and I just wonder just how crazy and ignorant the Israelites. I don't mean to be disrespectful, but in the Bible times, the things that they did and things they fall for is just to me it's just crazy. One of them is David and Goliath. If you perceive someone, David's regular height, our regular human height, but you find a giant that's tall as a building almost, than the average building or individual, you stand at his knees or below his knees, and he's that much taller than you. But you're able to take a slingshot, put a rock in it, sling, and kill him with one blow. If my senses saw that, I would truly know that there is a God. No one's that lucky. That's just the odds against that are just insurmountable. If I was to see that and perceive that and look at it and be like, wow, I would know that God was truly with David. That would be one perception. Another one is the parting of the Red Sea. Can you imagine now if the Atlantic Ocean or the Pacific Ocean was parted? We saw that firsthand ourselves. We perceive it and we see that, and we see the waters reside and the land is completely dry. And we can walk across from California to Hawaii. Could you imagine that, seeing that? That just would be awesome. Awesome. I would love to be in a situation where I could see and witness that. Um, One of the plagues that God sent while He's trying to liberate the people from Egypt. One of the things He sent, and it hailed. And once the hail hit the ground, it turned into fire. Can you imagine seeing that? Your eyes and your senses perceiving that hail is hitting the ground, and as it hits the ground, bursts into flames. If you ever watch the movie Ten Commandments, they show that very well on there. God was sending the plagues to try to break Ramses, the Pharaoh, and to make him let his people go. That just to perceive that would be awesome. Water turning into blood in the Nile. They're just dipping water and they blessing the Nile and all this kind of stuff. And then next thing you know, it's blood red. I mean, it goes from water to blood and stays like that for days. I mean, to see that firsthand, and then you try to make, and I know, but what would happen today is that some people make some kind of scientific, oh, I did this, and the atmosphere did this, and then the clouds did this, and then there was some certain kind of dirt and minerals that came out that were activated by this and that kind of stuff. It would be some kind of scientist out there trying to make some kind of scientific explanation on why this water is now turning into blood. The burning bush. You Moses, you going up to Mount Sinai and You see the burning bush. It is burning. You can see the flame, but it's not being consumed. And you hear a voice. Your senses are telling you something, and it's hard to believe based on what our capacity of our mind can withstand. But that's what you're seeing. You're seeing a burning bush, physically burning, but it's still the leaves are still there. It's not being consumed. It's not being destroyed like a traditional fire destroys something. Um, Jesus walking on water. Can you imagine that? We all know how water is, and that it's very fluid. But someone is walking on water just like they're walking on land. How would your brain perceive that? How would your senses perceive that? How would you how would you try to rationalize what you're seeing? You couldn't. Feeding people, feeding the multitude with 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. Now that is a miracle, incredible. But to see that, to be able to perceive that, those things, I mean, it boggles the mind, and that's what God does. God boggles the mind. God gives you just enough understanding, enough mercy, enough grace to know that He is God. And I don't question anything that He does. And for people that do question it, I guess that's your right and your prerogative. But I'm gonna always. I don't care if they discovered 50 new different species. I'm gonna believe God created them all, until I see something differently, or whatever my beliefs is has been totally shot down. But I'm still going to believe in what I believe in, and I believe in God that He is the the number one ruler, King, Lord of Lords, and He can do whatever He wants. Last thing, that's perception. An example of perception in the biblical times were is Daniel in the lion's den. Now we all know what lions are. When we go to the zoo, we see how big those cats are. Those bad boys are ferocious. I went to a place in North Carolina and saw a tiger. And I didn't realize a tiger was that big till I saw one in real life. And those bad boys are huge. A lion is even bigger, a male lion. So can you imagine sitting in the lion's den? Them bad boys are hungry. You know they're hungry. But God sends an angel or makes them so they don't even think about Daniel. Don't have appetite. Probably don't even roar. They just went to sleep. Oh, you good? Any other time we'd eat you, but not today. Could your mind perceive that? Because you know everybody else that you put in that den before Daniel was devoured, was killed, very bloody, very gruesome death. Daniel goes in there and nothing happens. The lions are content. They're not hungry. They go to sleep. They don't bother him. Your mind, how your mind process something like that? Because you know it has to be divine intervention. So the mind and the perception, it's just in biblical times it would just be. In today's time, the miracles and the things we saw in biblical times we see today, it would be mind blowing. Some of us would not believe it, or some of us would try to science it away. Science, no, no, science says this, science says that, or there's some kind of explanation science is a good thing, but I think God created science. It's going to explain certain things, but not all things, because if it's something that you can't explain, something you don't know how, to me that's divine intervention. There have been times when I needed things, or I felt a certain way, or things didn't like it was going to make it. Something happened. It wasn't science. It was divine intervention, and I'm going to believe that to the day I die. Well, that's my 2 cents on the word perception. I'm going to leave you with a quote of the day. And the quote of the day is: life is based on perception. Perception is based on opinion. Opinion is based on thought. Thought comes from the mind. Change your mind, change your life. Say it one more time. Life is based on perception. Perception is based on opinion. Opinion is based on thought. Thought comes from the mind. Change your mind, change your life. I hope each and every one of you have a very blessed day. It was very good spending my morning here with you, and I'm definitely ready to do it tomorrow. Tomorrow is Friday. It'll be August the 25th, and on all Fridays I have live shows where I will actually be in the chat. When I say live show, I'll be in the live chat. So if you come on at 7 o'clock and you click on this, you'll be able to talk to me directly. If you go to the chat, you can type in, hello, Danny, how you doing? Good morning, whatever, or good point, this and this, and I can actually talk back with you. I do that every Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be back tomorrow. Same bat time, same bat channel. And as always, I hope that you have a blessed day. Get some good walking shoes because we are definitely going to walk the road to wisdom and we're going to learn wisdom and we're going to do it together. Have a good day.